classmate of mine started dating a tall, rich, handsome guy. She pulled him into our class group chat. The guy immediately sent out 24 red packets, each containing 200 yuan. The meaning was clear, one for everyone. They all claimed one. I was the only one who didn't. My classmate's eyes turned red. Is 200 yuan beneath you? The others rushed to comfort her, then turned to blame me. Don't be so ungrateful. Just take the red packet. If you don't take it, leave the group. Leave the group, then. It's not like they would believe me if I told them the rich guy was sending out hell money. When a human gives hell money to a ghost, it's an offering. When a ghost gives hell money to a human, it's trying to borrow their life. Without a second thought, I quit the group. At that, Xu Yue burst into a storm of tears, looking utterly heartbroken. She sobbed, "My boyfriend didn't mean anything by it. He just wanted to thank everyone for taking care of me. Jiang Jiang, I was wrong to expose you for wearing a fake Prada last time. I'm so sorry. I didn't do it on purpose, I'm just too blunt. I sincerely apologize. Please don't be upset, okay?" Ha! If she hadn't brought it up, I would have forgotten. 2 months ago, same classroom, same break between classes. Xu Yue had cozied up to me. "Jiang Jiang, your jacket is so pretty. Can I please try it on?" I didn't think much of it. Besides, what harm could a young girl do? I immediately took the jacket off and handed it to her. She took it but didn't put it on. Instead, she tilted her head, examining it, and the next second, she shrieked, "Jiang Jiang, your jacket is a fake." The once bustling classroom fell silent in an instant. All eyes were on me. It's not fake. My aunt bought it for me. My aunt, the CEO of a publicly listed company, wouldn't buy me a counterfeit. But Xu Yue wouldn't listen, shaking her head as she lectured. Since we were little, our parents and teachers taught us not to be vain or blindly compare ourselves to others. She didn't finish, and I didn't get a chance to explain before the bell rang for class. I didn't let it bother me, but after that, labels like "wears fakes" and "vain" somehow stuck to me. I was organizing my bags when I got home last time and happened to find the sales receipt. Why don't you take a look and tell me if the receipt is fake, too? Xu Yu's face stiffened for a moment, but she quickly recovered, her voice tinged with tears. "I must have seen it wrong. I'm so sorry, Jiang Jiang. It's just that I saw you at the canteen, and you wouldn't even spend 5 yuan on a meat dish, so I just assumed." Ha! Her reminder brought back another memory. During our first-year military training, most of the class would go to the canteen together. I had ordered a bowl of rice and 2 vegetable dishes. Xu Yue, who was right behind me, saw my tray and gushed with enthusiasm, "Jiang Jiang, why aren't you getting any meat?" I couldn't very well tell her that I lost my appetite seeing the ghosts of chickens, ducks, pigs, and geese hovering over the meat dishes. So I just said, "I'm vegetarian." I don't know what kind of logic she operates on, but she grabbed my arm and wouldn't let me go. "Jiang Jiang, we have more training this afternoon. How will you have any energy without meat? If you don't have the money for it, it's okay, I'll treat you." Her voice was so loud that people 10 meters away could hear. I saw the students in 3 or 4 different lines fall silent, craning their necks to look our way. That day, I became the designated poor student of our class. Fine, let them think I was poor. There's no shame in that. But then they wanted to give me the official financial aid slot. Each class had a fixed number of slots. If I took one, what about the students who truly needed it? It took a lot of persuading to get the class monitor to remove my name from the application list. But a few days later, a rumor started that I was just too proud to accept help and was suffering in silence. What you assume is just your assumption. It's best to keep it to yourself, or you'll just annoy people. Jiang Jiang, how can you say that to me? Xu Yue's eyes widened, her hand flying to her mouth, trembling slightly. I was just trying to help you. All her effort was in her facial expressions and her voice. The acting was so clumsy it was hard to watch. But some people fall for that sort of thing. A boy from behind us saw his chance and jumped in. This all sounds like a misunderstanding. Jiang Jiang, we're all classmates. There's no need to make a federal case out of it. Me? Making a federal case out of it? Was this guy out of his mind? I turned to look at him. If I remembered correctly, his name was Ma Zheng. He was one of the ones who told me to leave the group chat. Ma Zheng spoke again. You two should just apologize to each other, and this will all be over. Yeah, it's no big deal. Jiang Jiang, you apologized to Xu Yue first. Xu Yue's roommates chimed in, echoing Ma Zheng. Honestly, I was shocked. I was so speechless I didn't know where to begin. But Xu Yue, blinking her tearless eyes, spoke in a strained voice, Jiang Jiang, you don't have to apologize to me. I was never mad at you. If anyone's to blame, it's me. I just wanted to help, but my good intentions went wrong. And about the red packet my boyfriend sent you, if you don't want to claim it, that's fine. I'll hold on to it for you. You can ask me for it when you're in a better mood. I was floored. What kind of human language was this? She ruined my reputation and then said she was never mad at me? Is that how you help someone? And thanks, but no thanks for your boyfriend's red packet. I wouldn't dare take it. Acting? Who can't act? I put on a strained voice of my own. I was never mad at you either. After all, there's no point in arguing with someone who's about to die. I glanced at my phone screen. Half a minute until class started. Without waiting for Xu Yue or anyone else to react, I pulled 5 carved peach pits from my pocket and placed them on the class monitor's desk. I'll leave these with the class monitor for now. If any of you need one in the future, you can get it from him. The monitor and the other students were baffled. They wanted to ask questions, but unfortunately, the bell rang. And I was no longer in the group. Add me back. I wouldn't rejoin even if they did. The next day, as soon as I stepped into the classroom, I was met with the collective stare of every student. I yawned. I'd been chasing a little ghost all night and still had to make it to an 8 a.m. class. Exhausted, didn't even begin to cover it. What are you all staring at me for? I could visibly see the student in the front row swallow hard. Xu Yue fell out of her bed last night. Her whole head was smashed open, blood everywhere. This student was quite animated. Before I could even ask how she fell, he continued on his own. The guardrail on her bed just snapped. How could the guardrail snap? The beds in our dorms are really good quality. A guy who weighs over 180 pounds was hanging off one before, and it didn't even bend, another student said, completely bewildered. Who knows? We'd have to ask Xu Yue's roommates. Xu Yue's roommates were all pale. We don't know either. We were woken up by this crying sound last night, and before we could even say anything, Xu Yue fell from her bed. Wait, A crying sound? You heard a crying sound? The student in the front shot up from his seat. Oh my God, we heard it too. It was so mournful. The mention of the crying sound set the classroom ablaze. In an instant, students were all saying they'd heard it too. The more they talked, the more outlandish it got. They huddled together, trembling, wanting to say the word but not daring to, instead muttering, "We must believe in science and reject superstition." But there were 7 people who seemed completely out of the loop. You all heard it? The class monitor was one of the 7. You didn't hear it? Xu Yue's roommate asked. The monitor looked at his own roommates, who all shook their heads. No, we didn't hear a thing. We didn't hear it either, my roommate said, even though I rarely sleep in the dorm. The students were stunned. How come you're the only ones who didn't hear it? My roommate, Xiaoqin, glanced at me first, then opened her hand to reveal a carved peach pit. Is it because of this? Xiaoqin had helped me out before, so I gave her a peach pit in return. The students were astonished, their gazes once again landing on me. Jiang Jiang, what on earth is going on? What else could it be? It was exactly what they were thinking. The malevolent ghost came to claim a life last night. What I didn't expect was that it would target Xu Yue first. Were you able to use the 200 yuan you all claimed yesterday? The moment the words left my mouth, the student in the front row shot up again. No, it's completely unusable. Every time I try to pay, it says I have insufficient funds, but the wallet clearly shows the 200 yuan I got yesterday. I thought my phone was broken. I couldn't use it either, several others chimed in. I added, it's money for the dead. Of course you can't use it. Are you saying Xu Yue's boyfriend sent us hell money? I nodded. That's exactly what I'm saying. Isn't hell money made of paper? How can it be sent in a red packet? I smiled. You think only humans evolve? Ghosts are developing too. Xu Yue's boyfriend is a ghost? The student in the front row had a knack for getting to the point. I'm not sure if he's a ghost, but I do know that money was meant to buy your lives. What the hell? The students' voices cracked, jumping an octave and making my ears ring. I shifted away from them slightly. When a human gives hell money to a ghost, it's an offering. When a ghost gives hell money to a human, it's trying to borrow their life. He's already a ghost, what life would he need to borrow? You don't even draft your stories before you tell them. They're full of holes, Ma Jing snorted at me. Some would believe, some wouldn't. I had explained what I needed to explain and said what I needed to say. If anything else happened, it couldn't be blamed on me. I never said the ghost was borrowing life for himself. I pointed to the carved peach pit the class monitor had in his pencil case. 1 per dorm. For the next little while, it's best not to be alone, especially at night. All smoke and mirrors, just fear-mongering. What happened to Xu Yue was an accident. Ma Zheng looked completely dismissive. He took a peach pit from the monitor, twirled it between his fingers, then casually tossed it back onto the monitor's desk. You're so stingy. 1 per dorm? What if someone has an emergency and has to go out alone? If this thing can really stop ghosts, why not just give one to each of us? I shrugged and held up my hands. This is all I have. I've given them all to you. If it weren't for the fact that we were classmates, I wouldn't have offered a single one. Logically, after they had spread rumors and ruined my reputation without knowing the facts, it would be perfectly reasonable for me not to save them. But believe it or not, everyone had the same thought. It was better to have one than not. So, the carved peach pits in the class monitor's hand were distributed in seconds. You had to hand it to Xu Yue, though. She was sent to the hospital in the middle of the night with a bloody head, and by noon, she was back at school, looking full of vigor, and cornered me outside the canteen. I eyed her bandaged head and casted right leg. Did the ghost show mercy and let her live? Xu Yu's eyes were red-rimmed. She reached out her right hand, trembling, as if to grab me. I quickly took a step back. How terrifying! Was she trying to frame me for another fall? Jiang Jiang, I don't mean anything by it. I just want to talk to you over there for a minute. The canteen entrance was indeed bustling with people. And as the subject of the school's top news story, Xu Yue was drawing a lot of attention. I followed her wheelchair to a corner by the wall. She glanced around, and after making sure no one was near, her expression immediately became frantic. She burst out, "Majin told me everything. I believe you, Jiang Jiang. So can you please save me? I don't want to die." Her eyes were filled with panic, and her body trembled slightly as she spoke. I figured she must have had a very real encounter with the ghost last night. It's not that I don't want to save you. It's that the malevolent ghost you've provoked. I can't beat it. How is that possible? Xu Yu's shriek expressed her disbelief. How is it not possible? I'm just a rookie, a novice. The few skills I have are barely enough for self-preservation. Honesty is a virtue. But Xu Yue didn't believe me. She thought I just didn't want to save her. She became extremely agitated, nearly standing up. I was wrong before. I shouldn't have spread nonsense about you. If you save me, I'll publicly apologize to you. I can even help you clear your name. That was a roundabout way of putting it. She might as well have just admitted she was the one slandering me all along. But even if she apologized now, it wouldn't change anything. I couldn't beat it, and that was that. I sighed and shook my head. I really can't help. Tears streamed down her face. What about the carved peach pits? Can you give me one? What, did Majin only tell her half the story? Those were all of them. They've all been given out. How can that be? She cried, her mouth turning down. Then carve me a new one. It takes at least half a year to carve one. Can you afford to wait? She couldn't. The ghost was targeting her now. Until she was dead, it wouldn't move on to someone else. She knew this perfectly well herself. Therefore, Xu Yue could no longer contain her emotions. She wailed, grabbing the phone from her lap and hurling it at me. Luckily, I dodged quickly, or the rhinestones on her phone case would have scraped my face and likely scarred me. Seeing she'd missed, her face turned red with rage, her voice sharp and vicious. You just don't want to save me. You're mad at me for embarrassing you before. Jiang Jiang, you're seeking personal revenge. If I die, I'll come back as a ghost and haunt you. I was speechless. Utterly dumbfounded. Some people are just like that. They only believe what they want to believe. I wasn't going to argue with a fool. I'd rather use the time to get some sleep. Just as I turned to leave, Majin arrived. The stream of curses from Xu Yu's mouth came to an abrupt halt. In the silence, Majin ran to Xu Yu's wheelchair in a few strides, completely shielding her with his body and glaring at me. Xu Yue is already in this state, and you're still bullying her. I was speechless. Again. Majin, Can you please help me convince Jiang Jiang? I know I was wrong before, but I've already apologized. Please, ask her to save me, okay? Xu Yue reverted to her pitiful, damsel in distress persona. As if the furious person from 3 seconds ago wasn't her. I thought Ma Zheng would do as Xu Yue asked, either threaten, bribe, or beg me. I never expected him to walk behind Xu Yue, grab the handles of her wheelchair, spin it around 180 degrees, and wheel her away from the corner. As he left, he didn't forget to console Xu Yue. Don't believe her. Everything she said is a lie. Your fall was just an accident. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't. Ma Zheng, don't push me, I need to talk to Jiang Jiang again. Xu Yue was clearly frantic. But Ma Zheng didn't listen and didn't stop, continuing to push the wheelchair forward. You ran out of the hospital. The doctors are looking for you everywhere. I'm taking you back right now. You can talk to her after you've recovered. Xu Yue was in despair, so much so that she looked like she wanted to kill Ma Zheng with her glare. From my angle, I saw it all crystal clear. When a ghost comes for a life and fails once, it will certainly come a second time. Sure enough, when I came to school the next day, the entire walk to the classroom was filled with hushed discussions. How could something like this happen? I heard it was a gruesome death. He jumped straight from the 8th floor, his brains splattered everywhere. Why would he suddenly commit suicide? Was it over love? I don't know. Don't you think their class is cursed? First a female student falls out of bed, and now a male student jumps off a building. A male student jumped? It wasn't Xu Yue who died? I walked into the classroom, puzzled. The students, like startled birds, all swarmed around me. Jiang Jiang, Ma Zheng is dead. I was genuinely shocked. Who did you say? Xiaoqin repeated it. Ma Zheng. How did he die? He didn't come back last night. He was at the hospital with Xu Yue. This morning, our advisor called the class monitor and said Ma Zheng had committed suicide by jumping off the building. As soon as Xiaoqin finished, another student immediately added, there are already videos and photos online. He held his phone screen up to my face. On it was a clear video of Ma Zheng jumping from the building. He just jumped, just like that. It was like he was possessed. He was possessed. In the video, it looked like Ma Zheng jumped on his own. In reality, the malevolent ghost was attached to his back, confusing his mind and then dragging him down. What I was curious about was, why didn't Xu Yue die? Why was it Ma Zheng instead? Jiang Jiang, what do we do? Is the ghost going to start killing us one by one? Everyone was terrified, and in that moment, I became their anchor. And I certainly didn't want to see them all die. If you trust me, we trust you. We trust you. Before I could even finish, the students all rushed to answer. In that case, I continued, later, each of you needs to go buy 200 yuan worth of paper money. Have it ready. This was an idea I had squeezed out of my brain after a whole night of deep thought. For the next 2 days, same rules as before, do not go anywhere alone, especially at night. The carved peach pits can't destroy the ghost, but they can definitely block its attacks. Is 200 yuan enough? We can buy more if it's not, a student asked. No need. You return exactly what you took. Any more, and it might have to come back and thank you. I wasn't joking. It doesn't matter who owes whom, all debts must be paid. The students nodded like bobbleheads. We definitely won't buy extra. What's next? What else do you need us to do? I shook my head slightly. You don't need to do anything. Now, we just have to wait. The students were confused. Wait for what? Wait for the ghost to come find us? Their voices were all tinged with tears. I couldn't offer them comfort, only a firm reply. Wait for the Qingming Festival in 2 days. To save their own lives, they did exactly as I said, without a shred of doubt. In the evening, my roommate Xiaoqin invited me to stay in their dorm. Looking at her and a dozen other girls with pleading eyes, the refusal on my lips was swallowed back down. I was genuinely surprised to see Xu Yue in the dorm. She was no longer in a wheelchair, but standing at the doorway, leaning on a crutch. Before we could ask, she explained in a hesitant voice, I was scared being in the hospital alone. And I don't know what happened to Ma Zheng. He suddenly ran out in the middle of the night. By the time I followed him to the rooftop, he had already jumped. As she spoke, her eyes reddened. I told him not to stay with me, but he insisted. If I had known something would happen to him, I would have made him leave. The other students exchanged glances. But, your injuries are so severe. Don't you need to be hospitalized? Xu Yue avoided everyone's gaze. The doctor said I could be discharged. No one was blind or stupid. Maybe you should go back to the hospital. What if something happens to your leg and the injury gets worse? Xu Yue waved her hands frantically. It won't, it won't. We have Jiang Jiang's carved peach pits, right? And Jiang Jiang is here too. If something really happens, Jiang Jiang wouldn't just stand by and watch me suffer, right? After saying that, she stared at me with burning intensity. Was she trying to emotionally blackmail me? Her roommate, Wang Shi, picked up the thread. Of course she won't ignore you. We're all classmates. Xu Yue sobbed. I know I'm the one who brought the ghost here, but I didn't do it on purpose. I really didn't know he was a ghost. He was so tall and handsome, you all saw the pictures. Wang Shi nodded in agreement. He was definitely tall and handsome. There's no way a normal person could tell he was a ghost. Xu Yue gave Wang Shi a faint smile. Thank you. Thank you for understanding me. Then she turned to face everyone else. But I still have to apologize to all of you. I'm the one who brought this danger upon you. However, I believe that with Jiang Jiang here, everyone will definitely be safe. Wang Shi quickly chimed in, it's not your fault, you can't be blamed. You're a victim too. Yes, we have Jiang Jiang. She will definitely save us. Hilarious. Truly hilarious. The two of them, singing in harmony, had managed to place me on a throne dripping with venom. I stared straight at Xu Yue. If I can save people, of course I will. But with so many classmates here, saving you might mean I can't save someone else. After all, you're injured and can't run on your own. Saving you will inevitably be much more difficult. Everyone should understand that logic, right? I threw the problem back at them. When the ghost came, I might not even be able to save myself. Not saving them was my prerogative. Saving them was because I was kind. But if they thought they could emotionally blackmail me, they could dream on. In the face of self-interest, who was more noble than whom? Wang Shi, who had been speaking up for Xu Yue, immediately shut her mouth. At least for now. As for what she might say after everyone returned to their own rooms, that was beyond my control. So, as I went out to grab a food delivery, I happened to pass Xu Yue's dorm and overhear their conversation. Wang Shi was saying, "What's with Jiang Jiang's attitude? If it weren't for the fact that she can protect us from the ghost, I wouldn't even bother talking to her." Xu Yu hummed in agreement. "Yesterday, I asked her if she could save everyone, and she said she couldn't. Today, suddenly she has a plan. She just wants me to die alone." Wang Shi's voice followed immediately. "Of course. If you die, she'll be the prettiest girl in our department." "You can't say that," Xu Yu chuckled. "You're very pretty too." They giggled together. I was speechless. It's true what they say, you can't judge a book by its cover. I couldn't even be bothered to argue with them. After dinner, the entire dormitory fell quiet. No one dared to speak loudly or visit other rooms. The girls in my dorm got into bed early, drew their curtains tight, and burrowed under their covers. I was jolted awake by a fierce pounding on the door. I opened my eyes. It was already light outside. "Jiang Jiang, something happened. Someone else is dead." I never would have imagined it. The one who died was Wang Shi. I scanned the room but didn't see Xu Yu. "Where's Xu Yu?" Xu Yu's other two roommates were huddled together, shaking like leaves, and stammered, "She was gone when we woke up. And our carved peach pit is missing too." According to them, Wang Shi had been in charge of the peach pit initially. After Xu Yu returned, she said something to Wang Shi, and afterward, Xu Yu became the keeper of the pit. Now, Xu Yu had vanished, taking the peach pit with her. Wang Shi's body was taken away, and the autopsy results came out the same day, sudden death due to a ruptured kidney. There were no signs of a struggle. She had died in her sleep. The malevolent ghost could kill Ma Zheng in one go and make Wang Shi die instantly, yet it couldn't manage to kill Xu Yu. And the ones who died were the people closest to her. The classmates guessed that Xu Yu had likely been colluding with the ghost all along. Once they figured it out, they all gritted their teeth, wishing they could tear her to pieces. With the successive deaths, panic spread. The school decided to give everyone a holiday. For a time, the entire campus was empty except for the 21 of us from our class. No one dared to leave, terrified of being alone and targeted by the ghost. We survived one day and one night. In the blink of an eye, it was the Qingming Festival. Since the campus was empty, everyone acted without reservation. At 11:50 p.m., 21 people, each hugging a large black bag, gathered on an open stretch of concrete. The class monitor was reliable. He even had the male students bring 21 metal buckets. They stared at me with expectant eyes, waiting for my signal to start burning the paper money. A sinister wind swept by. I spun around, and a female ghost was already clinging to the academic building about 5 meters away. The students screamed in terror. Without me needing to say a word, they flicked their lighters, ignited the paper money, and started tossing it into the buckets, shouting, "Grandpa/Grandma, Grandpa/Grandma on my mom's side, third great uncle, fourth uncle, a ghost is trying to kill me, come save me." This was the plan I had come up with. One of us couldn't beat it, but we could summon an army. Just as our various relatives were locked in a fierce battle with the ghost, Xu Yu appeared out of nowhere. She waved her arms, cheering for the ghost. "Ghost brother, go! You can do it! Don't lose to them! Yes, yes, tear them all apart! Yay, yay, ghost brother, you're the best!" I could see the faces of my classmates contort with rage. I deeply felt that Xu Yue had lost her mind. Did she really think our relatives couldn't beat the ghost, and that all 21 of us were doomed to die at its hands? Or had she simply given up on being human? Xu Yue was still shouting, "Ghost brother, get Jiang Jiang. She's the one directing them." I was stunned. What the hell? This woman was definitely insane. The critical thing was, the ghost actually listened to her and lunged toward me. In a flash, I had already assumed a fighting stance, but suddenly, 3 or 4 rows of figures materialized in front of me. Dozens of the students' relatives formed a solid wall, blocking the ghost. The relatives continued to fight the ghost, and while Xu Yue was stunned, the others seized their chance and grabbed her. "What did we ever do to you that you would harm us like this?" A female student was so angry she slapped Xu Yue right across the face. Xu Yue couldn't break free. She glared at the student and gritted her teeth. "You dare hit me? Ghost brother won't let you get away with this." I glanced over. Her ghost brother was in mortal danger. But her view was completely blocked by a few tall male students, so she couldn't see the state of the battle at all. The female student grew even angrier and slapped her again. "Why did you try to harm us?" Xu Yue hissed in pain but remained stubborn. "I didn't harm you." Her eyes darted around and suddenly landed on me. She quickly said, "It was Jiang Jiang who harmed you. She knew Ghost Brother was sending hell money but didn't tell you. Trying to drag me down with her even at death's door." I simply stepped aside, giving her a clear view of how her Ghost Brother was being annihilated. Sure enough, she stopped talking, her mouth hanging open as she let out a series of "ah" sounds, right up until the ghost's soul was scattered to the winds. It was 3 in the morning. If we were in the countryside, you would hear the first crow of the rooster. At the rooster's crow, ghosts flee. The students' relatives, their pockets full, had completed their duty and departed. Xu Yue collapsed onto the ground, her expression vacant. With their lives no longer in danger, the students began to worry about something else. What to do with Xu Yue? Without her help, the ghost wouldn't have been able to harm people so smoothly. She was a bona fide accomplice. But there was no evidence to have her arrested. Understanding this herself, Xu Yue became incredibly brazen, no longer hiding her true nature. "Tying me up is useless. The law can't convict me." The angrier the students got, the happier she became. "But you are illegally detaining me, which is a criminal offense. If you don't let me go, you can all wait to go to jail." She knew her law. "She's right. Let her go." When I said this, my classmates were utterly shocked. "She's caused so much harm. How can we just let her go?" I calmly continued, "She did indeed cause harm, but we have no way to send her to prison." It was true, and the logic was sound, but they couldn't accept it. "Is there really nothing we can do?" I shook my head gently. "Not me. Do any of you have a way?" No one answered, which made the answer obvious: they didn't. "But we can't just let her go like this. Think about Ma Zheng and Wang Shi. They died such unjust deaths. What else can we do besides letting her go? Kill her and all go to prison together?" Of course, they didn't want that. It was infuriating, so infuriating, especially seeing the smug look of triumph on Xu Yue's face. The frustration was overwhelming. Xu Yue looked at me, her eyes full of admiration. "Jiang Jiang is still the one who understands the situation. Then please, Jiang Jiang, untie the ropes for me personally." No problem. I walked towards Xu Yue with a smile. In 2 seconds, the ropes loosened and fell onto her lap. She ripped them off and tossed them at my feet. Then she pushed herself up and slowly stood straight. What's there to be angry about? None of you died. Ma Zhang and Wang, she just had bad luck. She hummed a little tune, skipping and hopping toward the classroom door. Just as she reached it, she suddenly turned and continued, besides, what does their death have to do with you? Why are you all so righteously indignant? As the last word left her lips, she froze. Of course, the reason the students hadn't retorted was that they, too, were stunned into silence by the scene before them. Xu Yue ran back to the chair in disbelief. Why am I still sitting here? That's right. Her body was still sitting on the chair. But I clearly stood up. What stood up was her soul. How can this be? How can this be? She screamed, frantically trying to throw herself back into her body, but passing right through it every time. You took so much money from that ghost. You didn't really think it would let you live, did you? I had already seen the aura of death on her the moment she appeared. Xu Yue shrieked. He promised he wouldn't kill me. He said that as long as I cooperated and let him take your lives, he wouldn't kill me. And you believed the words of a ghost. It was strange. They believed the words of a ghost, but not a word I said. Xu Yue descended into madness, darting around the room, endlessly muttering, he promised me, he promised me. The classmates were also dumbfounded, their mouths agape. Xu Yue was dead, but her body still had to be dealt with. The class monitor remained relatively calm, took out his phone, and called the police. I left them to handle things there and followed Xu Yue to the hospital. I watched as she floated swiftly to a luxurious private room on the top floor, passed through the door, and threw herself directly into the arms of a man. The man looked identical to the malevolent ghost. So this was her real rich and handsome boyfriend? No wonder I hadn't seen any ghostly aura on the photos Xu Yue had sent to the group. A sinister wind blew the door open. Xu Yue spun around abruptly and pointed at me. Brother Jingren, she's the one who led a group of ghosts to destroy your brother's soul. The man named Jingren had ice-cold eyes. When he spoke, his words were like a venomous snake striking. May I ask which master this Taoist priest follows? I glanced at the Taoist robe on his bedside table. So he was a Taoist priest too. Asking about my master right away was a clear sign he was planning to bully the weak and fear the strong. The Qiyun Temple of the Five Great Mountains. I could see Jing Ren's expression change instantly. When he spoke again, his tone was humble and respectful. So you are a high disciple of Taoist Master Qiyun. It seems I have eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. My apologies, my apologies. Jingren took a step back, forcing Xu Yue away from his chest. Has the Taoist priest come to capture this female ghost? Do you require my assistance? The change in attitude was a bit too fast. I was fine, having encountered situations like this a few times before. Xu Yue, however, was not. She was so shocked she couldn't speak. Didn't you just say you were going to help me extract her soul so I could possess her body? Jing Ren's face turned cold, his voice harsh. What nonsense are you spouting? The body of a disciple from Qiyun Temple is something you can covet? Xu Yue was on the verge of tears from his scolding. Then what about me? You said you would help me become human again. You're already dead, how could you possibly become human again? Stop dreaming and go get reincarnated. But you just said. Before Xu Yue could continue, Jing Ren cut her off. Incorrigible. He gave her no time to react, raising a hand and flinging her out of the room. Under the sunlight, she had nowhere to hide. I heard a piercing scream, and then her ghostly form vanished. Jing Ren acted as if nothing had happened, smiling faintly at me. I have already disposed of her for the Taoist priest. You need not worry about her causing harm in the future. He was indeed a ruthless character. I nodded and turned to leave the hospital. I had originally just planned to follow secretly and see who was using a ghost to harm people and borrow life. I hadn't expected to be discovered. Master was right. There are always people better than you, heavens beyond the heavens. No matter how talented I was, without the corresponding skill to back it up, I would only be on the receiving end of a beating. It seemed now that to get rid of this evil man, I would have to call on my master to handle it personally. When I returned to school, Xu Yue's body had already been taken away. The coroner's report came back quickly, sudden cardiac death. My classmates, who had been worried I would be arrested as a suspect, could finally breathe a sigh of relief. The class monitor quietly sidled up to me. Jiang Jiang, on behalf of our entire class, I'd like to sincerely invite you to rejoin the class group chat. Is that okay? I thought about it for a long time but couldn't come up with a reason to refuse. I could only nod in agreement. Okay. As soon as I joined the group, I saw a new announcement from the class monitor: life is precious, and love requires caution. You must see clearly whether they are human or ghost, otherwise you will only harm others and yourself.